Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. Are you being ripped off with EV charging prices? Or are you ripping yourself off? Confused? Well, some of the drivers that I meet obviously are. I filmed 2 cars recently. One was charging and paying 42 pence per kilowatt hour more than a compatible charger that was just 30 feet away. The other was paying 79p at a crawlingly slow speed of 40 kilowatts, while nearby was a 350 kilowatt charger at exactly the same price. And really close by was a 150 kilowatt charger, which his car could easily accept, and that one was 39p. Well, I know all this because I was there and I filmed it. Now, this video is not intended to humiliate anyone, not trying to shame anyone. You're perfectly free to pay whatever you want. I get comments about Instavolt is so reliable, I'm happy to pay more. If you want to pay 85p at Instavolt, it's your money, please go ahead and do it. I can't tell you what to pay. What I can tell you is how to pay less, if you want to. So, charging an EV economically does require a little bit of knowledge. All the EV haters out there, they'll be laughing themselves to death now. They'll be going, oh, this is way too complex. You have to do all this. Oh, it's ridiculous. Get yourself a nice ice car, then you can just pull into a garage, insert a nozzle, and away you go. We don't do any of this. But you're wrong. You actually do this every single day. You just don't know that you're doing it. Well, let me give you an example. You're driving down the motorway, you're heading home, you're running low on fuel, and you look at your gauge and you suddenly think, well, I might not be able to make it home. Well, that's range anxiety. Anyway, it's not a problem for you because you can just pull in anywhere and fill up with fuel. So you look at your gauge and you go, no, I'm not sure I can make it home. And just then, up ahead, you see there's a motorway services coming up. They sell petrol. Are you going to go in there? No, you're not. And the reason you won't is because you know, you do the calculation in your head, that a typical motorway services will charge you 30p a litre extra over your local Shell garage or your Tesco garage. So you will not go into that motorway services. You carry on. Can you get off the motorway and still, yes, you've got enough petrol to get off the motorway, and then the calculation comes back again. You see a Shell garage up ahead. Am I going to stop there? Well, no, because I know that Shell charges me 5p a litre more than Tesco. So you'll look at your gauge again and you'll say, can I reach Tesco? Or do I need to do it tonight? I might be able to squeak home and do it in the morning. You're doing these calculations all the time. The only difference is you have done them every single day since you've been driving. Every single day. And they become so commonplace to you, you don't even notice you're doing them. You do this on the motorway. Can I make the next one? Should I pull off the motorway and find a cheaper one? You're doing it all the time. As an ICE car driver, they've been doing this for 100 years. It's become second nature. Nobody even thinks about it anymore. We EV drivers, we've only been doing this a few years. To us, it's still new. Give it a few years and we'll be the same as you. Yeah, it just becomes second nature. So, Dave Takes It On. It gives you a guide now to getting the cheapest charging prices for yourself in the UK. So, first rule, check if you can get a cheap or free deal from your dealer, your manufacturer, or a utility company. Let me give you an example. GridServe. If you lease a car through them, they are currently giving 3 months free charging at all GridServe chargers. 3 months free. Now, example here, if you lease a Tesla from GridServe and you go to Rugby Services to charge it, I saw one recently and it was plugged into the GridServe. And I thought, first thought was, why is he plugged into a GridServe at 79p when the Tesla chargers are 39p? And then I suddenly realised it's a GridServe leased vehicle. He's worked out if he goes to GridServe, he's not paying 79p, it's absolutely free. Whereas if he went to the Tesla ones, he'd have to pay 39p. So check your deals. Now, David, I met recently at the meetup at the Darwin Services, which is an Ionity service station near Blackburn. He lives locally, so he doesn't usually charge around here. But he said that it's a new car. He's got a Hyundai Ioniq 5, and he's not done any long journeys. He does charge at home for 7p, so he hasn't had to use a public charger yet. That's novel. Anyway, he said, now I'm here, now everyone else is here. There's a group of us, and now Dave's here, me. He said he'll have a go at charging because he's never done it, and he might one day want to go and do a road trip. So he got all his papers out, he checked everything, and he found he had a card. And when he went and plugged into the Ionity charger and used that card, what David found was he was able to buy electricity at 30 pence a kilowatt hour. 30 pence. Now, there's lots of you out there would die to be able to charge your car at a public charger, 30 pence a kilowatt hour. David had it all the time, didn't know it. So you need to check your deals. Now, David might never actually use it because if he only uses his car for local driving, then he's always going to charge at home. But if he does go on a road trip, I can guarantee now David will be looking out for the Ionity chargers and being able to pay the 30 pence a kilowatt hour. Another example, my brother over in the States, he's just bought a BMW iX4 M50. And with that, he gets totally free charging for a year from BMW. Now, it's not totally free, it's not unlimited. There are restrictions. He's only allowed to charge for up to 30 minutes at a time. I would imagine this is done so that they don't have loads of cars just clogging up the chargers, topping up to 100%. So the deal's very simple. If he charges for 28 minutes, totally free of charge. He can do that as often as he wants. If he charges for 31 minutes, he pays for the whole charging session. So it's just a way of restricting it. But he's also ordered a home charger. Now, what does he do? Well, when the home charger arrives, and it is due imminently, he'd be mad to use it. He can just nip down the road, plug in, go and have a cup of coffee for 28 minutes, drive home, do that once a week, once a month, twice a week, 4 times. I don't know what he does, but it'll be totally free charging for him. And if he does a road trip, he just needs to make loads of stops, each 30 minutes or 29 minutes charging. He'll never have to pay for the charging. However, at the end of the year, when the deal ends, he's got his home charger and he'll then be charging at home, probably at a very much reduced rate overnight. Look at your deals. If you've got one, make sure you can use it. Rule number 2, if you can charge at home, always, always, always cheaper. Much cheaper than anything you can get out on the road, apart from the free deals, of course. So if you are charging at home, you can typically get rates down to 7 pence, it's sometimes even 5p. You can't match that out on the road. So I know a lot of you can't charge at home. If you can't, this doesn't apply to you. But if you can charge at home, always charge at home. It will be the cheapest rate of charging that you can find. Now, rule 3, if you're using chargers, if you can't charge at home or if you're on a road trip, Tesla superchargers are the cheapest chargers that you can find. If you're a Tesla driver, you'd be crazy to use anything else other than Tesla. They are by far the cheapest prices in the country, and some of the prices off peak are approaching what people pay to charge at home. If you're a non-Tesla driver, check out your open to all Tesla superchargers. These are open to any car at all and will offer a cheaper rate than you find normally. A dear rate for a non-Tesla car at a Tesla supercharger might be in the region of 70, 72, 73 pence. That again is cheaper than GridServe at 79 pence, cheaper than Instavolt at 85 pence. To us Tesla drivers, 70 odd pence is just plain ridiculous. So check out if there are any superchargers near you. If you have a Tesla, if you haven't got a Tesla, check out if there are any superchargers open to all nearby. They will prove to be the cheapest. Rule number 4, check the time of day. Now, a lot of charging networks do have a peak and an off-peak. Peak is usually daytime, off-peak is nighttime. Tesla does a very much more complicated one, but it's well worth looking at. They have a peak, they have an off-peak, they sometimes have a super off-peak and a super off-peak. So if we have a look at Trafford Park, for example, if you're a non-Tesla driver, peak you'll be paying 73p. For a Tesla driver, that's 53p. But off-peak for a Tesla driver could be 26p. Off-peak for a non-Tesla driver could be 45p. So, is this Tesla ripping us off? No, it's trying to discourage people queuing at peak times and the chargers being totally empty at off-peak times. If they were trying to rip you off, they wouldn't offer you a really, really cheap off-peak, because the really cheap off-peak here is 26 pence. 26 pence, that's cheaper than the standard rate electricity at home. It's not a rip-off. It is literally just trying to stop people charging at peak time. So you need also to keep up to date on the prices. So for example, InstaVolt at one time was 69p. Then they crept up to 75p and now they're 85p. If you were a totally loyal InstaVolt customer, you like them because of the reliability or the colour of the chargers and you always charge there, keep an eye on the prices, because as the price creeps up, suddenly find they're quite expensive. There should be no loyalty whatsoever when it comes to charging. There isn't on petrol. You don't always go to the Shell garage, whatever the price, or the BP garage. We tend to just go around wherever the fuel is cheaper. We'll separate out supermarket from the branded, but there's no real loyalties. If your local BP suddenly drops 5p, you're in there like a shot. So no loyalty for petrol, no loyalty for charging. Look for the cheap prices. Also now check for EV charging network memberships. Now I know some of you hate memberships, and I understand it, but let me ask you, if you always go to the same place once, twice, 3 times, 4 times a month, it would be a no-brainer to become a member. Now we show at the end some of the difference in the pricing, but just to give you an idea, at the Banbury InstaVolt hub, obviously just outside Banbury, the prices there is 85 pence. 2 miles away up the road is a Tesla supercharger, and for non-members it's 72 pence. Become a member and that drops down off peak to about 26 pence. Check out what's available and look at the memberships. I'm going to give a full example at the end of the video. Now if you're driving a Tesla car, or you are driving a non-Tesla but use Tesla superchargers, then just keep a lookout for the rate they charge at different chargers. Tesla's not like InstaVolt or Osprey or GridServe, where they have a flat rate across all the chargers. Some of the Tesla chargers, if they're really, really busy like Trafford Park, are really quite expensive at peak time. Others, even at peak time, are significantly less. So do keep an eye out on your local chargers and your further away chargers to make sure that when you're stopping, you might be able to save 5 or 10 pence per kilowatt hour by just going to the charger before you were planning or the one after. Okay, so I say Tesla drivers will pay less than anyone else. So what sort of figures are we talking about? As I mentioned, Tesla superchargers do not always charge the same rate. You have different rates. So here I've done is taken an average of about 10 different superchargers and worked out the average peak price today, December, is 45 pence per kilowatt hour. The average off-peak rate is 36 pence per kilowatt hour. And if you can find one of those super off-peak rates, they're down as little as 24 pence per kilowatt hour. So look after those. Now, non-Tesla drivers who are non-Tesla members at a Tesla supercharger open to all, you can expect to pay around about 65 or 70 pence peak, about 40 to 50 pence off peak, and about 30 to 40 pence super off peak. So for non-Tesla drivers but Tesla members, you can expect to pay around 47 pence peak, same as a Tesla driver, 35p off peak and 26p super off peak. So let's have a look at a typical example. We're going to look here at Banbury Retail Park. And here you have a choice of two. You've got 6 Osprey 150 kilowatt chargers, Kenn power chargers, very nice, at 79 pence per kilowatt hour. That price all day, all night, all year, no memberships, no discounts, that's it. 20 yards away is a Tesla V3 supercharger, 250 kilowatts, CCS2, and this one offers peak rates of around 64 pence, off-peak rate of 49p. And members, if you become a member, pay £10.99. They will then get the same rates as the Tesla drivers. So let's look at the real-world example. So a single charge of 50 kilowatt hours once a week at the Osprey costs 50 kilowatt hours times 79p is £39.50 per session, anytime, day or night. So 4 sessions a month gives you £158 a month. So a single charge once a week for a non-Tesla member at the Tesla supercharger costs at peak time 50 times 64p or £32 a session. That makes £128 a month. Now, this is not a membership. They are the V3 chargers. They don't have screens or long cables, so you will have to use the app, but the app's free. So we're not paying any money whatsoever. You're a non-Tesla driver. You're not paying any membership. You just use the app, and you will be able to save £30 a month. Peak time. Now, if you go off-peak, non-members will get that for 49p. So 50 kilowatt hours times 49p is £24.50 a session. That's £98 a month. So you've got Osprey 158, you've got Tesla at peak at 128, and Tesla at off-peak, non-member, at 98. Now, if you become a member, you pay £10.99 a month. So at peak, that means a session comes down to £23.50. And so adding in your £10.99 a month, that brings it out a total of £104.99 a month at peak time as a member. So again, 158 Osprey, 128 for non-member, £104 or 105 round figures for a member. And if you go off peak, that will drop down to £82.99 a month. So you go from £158 to £82.99. That's nearly half price, and that includes your membership. Well, you need to do the maths for yourself. To me, that's an absolute no-brainer. If you have a Tesla supercharger open to all anywhere near you, you can get up to half price charging. Well, thanks very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please click the like button. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so that we can notify you every time we launch a video.